seemed to suggest that he would retain his portfolio as Minister of Transportation, even though that wasn't stated in the letter sent in by the President. They both spoke about the need to improve rail transportation in the different sections of the country. We have the next nominee coming in a short while, but going on in the Senate, some senators are voicing their dissent to the action of the President of the Senate and some of the lawmakers to allow the nominee take a bow without being questioned. Remember that we did say at the beginning of this transmission that some of the senators saw this as an opportunity to question and appraise the past ministers. Right Honorable Chibike Amechi is the past Minister of Transportation, and Senator Basi Akpan there was one of the persons who, within the last week, suggested to the Senate President that they should be given the opportunity to drill the nominees very well to at least get the best results from them. But that's not the case today with Rotimi Amechi. So far, 5 nominees have come through the floor of the Senate. 4 of them have been asked to take a bow and go. The only person who was grilled was the very first man, Uche Chukwu Oga from Abia State. The others are Godwin Akpabio, George Akume, Rotimi Amechi, Emeka Wajuba.
But no controversial matter to be brought forward or may debate around upon escalation. The terms of the proposed intent shall be submitted in detail to the President of the Senate, where it is due to make it sought. Mr. President, I am sorry, I didn't want to put us in confusion when the nominee was there, because switch off.
Distinguished Senator George Thompson Sekibo, you know, you didn't discuss anything with me regarding what you are raising. And this thing, I will advise that you withdraw that your point of order because I will rule against you. So if you insist, because you have not given me the terms of what you are going to say, and it is my prerogative to know what you are going to say before I allow you to say it. So on the basis of this, I will disallow you from continuing with that point of order. Next time, let's discuss it so that I'm abreast with what it is going to be. So I will graciously say I take note of that your point of order.
The next nominee walking into the chamber is the former minister, Ogbonnaya Onu. There's a high possibility that he will not enjoy the same privilege as the past, as he doesn't have at least federal legislative experience or background, if I may. The stipulated time for each senator is put at about 45 minutes. And senators are expected to ask questions, make suggestions to the nominees.
Before us is the nominee from Ebonyi State, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, the former Minister of Science and Technology. Dr. Onu, I want to welcome you on behalf of my colleagues, and we are a receipt of your CV, but you still have the opportunity to highlight on issues in the CV that you think are important for the Senate to take note, especially. And if there are anything that you think should be made known to the Senate but is not included in your CV, you are at liberty to do so. So you address the Senate before the questions and comments follow. You are welcome once again.
Thank you so much, Mr. President of the Senate, most distinguished senators. I feel very happy to stand before you on this very important occasion. I recall as governor of Abia State and the first Nigerian to be chairman of elected governors in our country, and as national chairman of all Nigerian People's Party. At the time I became national chairman, it was the leading opposition political party and second largest political party in the country. I work very closely with many of you. I would like to use this opportunity to commend you especially for your contributions to nation building. Mr. President of the Senate, my CV is before you, so I don't think it is necessary for me to highlight anything, because I tried to abridge it so that you can quickly look at it. So once more, I thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Senator Kabir Ibranga.
Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, I have my chairman of the party, former chairman, former councillor, my colleague as a governor in 1991-93, when we were put out by the military. I just have one question, because we're supposed to ask questions, not to praise you, but you deserve the praises. The PhD holder in chemical engineering, the first class honor in chemical engineering BSc, and a distinction in WASP. I worked with you for 2 years as governor. You know what we can do, and you are a former minister. What could you say your best achievement while you are Minister of Science and Technology? Thank you.
Thank you.
No, you will respond after maybe 3 senators ask questions. Senator Aliu Magatakadawamako.
Mr. President, dear please. The nominees and also former governor of the Boyan State. I'm sorry, Abia State. I think I share the same question with the last speaker, but in a more elaborate, maybe in a different language. My question is, having been a minister of chemistry for the last 4 years, what would you be remembered for? What has been your best achievement in the last 4 years in this ministry? Thank you.
Senator Samebu.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, let me congratulate my brother, His Excellency Dr. Ogbonnaya, the first-class material. Your Excellency, my question is with regards to the Night comes at war. Nigerian communication satellite that was launched sometime. And immediately the satellite was launched with fanfare in China. It got missing in orbit. And Nigerians were worried. $340 million was used in building the satellite. And on launching, it got missing in orbit. And that satellite was supposed to provide communication, broadcasting, and broadband efficiency in our system. I want to know, even though it was done before your tenure, as a minister, Nigerians want to know what has happened to that orbit, that satellite. Because the Minister of Science and Technology during that period, Alhaji Al-Hassan Zaku, told Nigerians that what happened was with that satellite was that the battery failed. The solar battery refused recharges, and that was why it failed. And according to him, he said that it was packed in space to avoid colliding with other satellites. Today, Nigerians want to know what has happened to that satellite. Have you recovered it? Or is it functional? Or it has been forgotten? So that the whole amount of money spent on that satellite will now become like a project that has failed again in Nigeria. So, apart from that, I want you to know what has happened. As a minister, in this current, in the last dispensation, I just want to know what has happened to that satellite. Thank you very much.
You can answer the questions.
Thank you so much. With respect to my achievements as Minister of Science and Technology, there were several achievements, but I would just like to summarize them very briefly. The first major achievement is that we were able, working with my colleagues in ministry, we were able to increase the awareness of Nigerians of the importance of science and technology to nation building. Today, everyone can see that whether you listen to the radio or the television or read newspapers, people talk more about science and technology. We have also done something that is revolutionary for our nation, championed by the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, and that is to move Nigeria away gradually from our economy depending on resources to our economy depending on knowledge that is innovation driven. This became very necessary, and actually this is something that should have happened at independence. And we must thank our President, President Muhammadu Buhari, for his interest and his commitment to making sure that this happens, because we have seen that our economy are dependent on commodities, initially agricultural products, and then later crude petroleum products, that is crude oil and natural gas. And what we have seen is that all the recessions, without exception, that we have had in the country, they arise as a result of a sharp drop in the price of commodities in the international market. And this journey, which we have started now in the country, we should have started at independence, which the Chinese have done. They celebrated 40 years of it last December. South Korea did it, Japan did it, and so on, is to now help us to now ensure that our economy is knowledge-based and the innovation-driven and no longer completely dependent. Because what this will do for us is that we have suddenly become a nation that imports virtually everything that we need. And this is not helping us. We have seen the adverse effect on the value of our currency, the naira. We have seen the adverse effect on the number of people who are not employed in the country. And so many adverse effects. So, but right now, the nation is moving in a direction to move away from a commodity-based economy to a knowledge-based, innovation-driven economy. This will take time, but I want to just give you just a very simple example. One of the agencies under the supervision of the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, NOTA for short, National Office for Technology Acquisition and Promotion. One of the mandates is to assist people to protect their intellectual property. And you do this through patents. And all over the world, you use patents to measure the creativity, the innovativeness, the inventiveness of any nation. In 2015, when I became minister, only 6 patents were obtained through NOTA. The following year, 2016, my first full year in office, that number more than doubled from 6 to 16. Now, in 2017, 1 year later, the number in 2017 more than tripled that of 2016. We moved from 16 to 50. And by last year, the number grew to 58. So this will show you that there is increased creativity in the nation, and that our economy is gradually moving towards becoming a knowledge-based economy. Mr. President, I think these two will represent some of the very major achievements that we made, just to keep it short. The satellite that His Excellency Senator Sam Egwu talked about, yes, this was built by the Chinese, but when it had problems, the Chinese replaced that satellite at no cost, to us. Thank you.
DSP. You raise your hand. Okay. Senator James Manager.
Mr. President, seated as chair, my respected colleagues, James Manager, Delta South. Mr. Nominee, although you have made some attempts to answer the questions, particularly that question was asked by Senator Kaya, and they treated my dear friend from Sokoto. But because you are looking at your CV, you are a first-class grade. And for 4 years, you have been involved in the science and technology subsector of this economy. Please, in specific terms, mention 2 things that Nigeria was able to make a breakthrough technologically and scientifically in the last 4 years. And if, by the benevolence of the President, and you are reappointed Honorable Minister of Science and Technology, what is your focus? How do you move it? How do you move from the level we are to the next level? Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity.
Senator Albert Basi Akpan. Are you all right?
Thank you, Mr. Capacity, Senate President, my distinguished and other colleagues. Mr. President, I want the nominee to share with us, having served in the Ministry of Science and Tech in the last 4 years, some of the challenges you faced in the last 4 years, that if by the special grace of God, which I'm praying, that you return back to that same ministry as a minister, what are those things you think you can do differently to achieve a much desired science and technology in Nigeria?
The Deputy Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, gentlemen, the Honorable Nominee,
had several policies for several purposes for specific goals in this country. And in some cases, these policies have not achieved their goals. Recently, we have this National Science and Technology Innovation Policy, which has been backed by a legal framework by passing the National Science and Technology Innovation Bill. Mr. Honorable Nominee, how do you think this policy or this bill will help science and technology as a tool for national development? Thank you.
You can respond now.
Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate. The question from a distinguished Senator James Manager, yes, there were so many breakthroughs. I can mention a few, but one of the things that we wanted to achieve in the country was to promote commercialization of research findings. Because before this time, most research done in our universities, in our research centers, they ended up being used for purposes of promotion, career advancement, and they were never found in the marketplace. Yes, it is very good to have this for career advancement, but it would be better if these research findings are commercialized, that is to convert them from research findings into products. So within the time that I was Minister of Science and Technology, we achieved a lot in this area. I am happy the Deputy Leader, Distinguished Senator Borofis, he knows a number of them, but one is a biscuit that young people can use, and it will help to solve the problem of malnutrition. And this was a research done at FIRO, the Federal Institute of Industrial Research, at Oshodi in Lagos, and it was commercialized by one of our leading confectionery companies in Jos. Also, just to give another example, there is a new way of managing sickle cell anemia, because we're interested in looking at diseases that are common to people who have the same color of skin with us. Because we believe that people in Europe and Asia may not be interested in doing research in such areas. And there is a new approach. Again, this is being commercialized by one of our leading pharmaceutical companies, May and Baker. So this is a way of having a cooperation between research institutes, universities, and then industry. Because this is the only way now that we can rebuild our economy, because once you commercialize these research findings, you will be able to make money for our country, for our individuals. You will create jobs because people need to work on this. Then in the area of challenges, yes, we had a number of challenges. One of them, obviously, was funding. Which I believe that the distinguished Senate is aware of. But again, Mr. President was very generous to assist the ministry by increasing the funding but we couldn't get up to the level we really wanted. And we all know that research is something that is capital intensive, because you have to buy state-of-the-art equipment, and you have to create enabling environment for those who do the work. But I believe that we're able to achieve a lot by effectively utilizing the resources that we had available. With respect to the question from distinguished Senator Borofis, Professor Borofis, Deputy Majority Leader of this great Senate of our Federal Republic, the National Research and Innovation Council is a very important body. Just to give you some background information, Nigeria developed our science, technology, and innovation policy in 1986. And it took this President Muhammadu Buhari, and it took 30 years for the lead organ to drive that policy. And this is exactly why policies may not have worked in the past. The lead organ to drive the policy was this National Research and Innovation Council. And for 30 years, that council did not meet. But the president, by January 2016, because the president is the chairman of this council, and there are so many, about 15 to 18 ministers, depending on bundling or bundling of portfolios. So you can see that it's a very important council, and it's supposed to drive research and innovation in the country. So a bill, a National Research and Innovation Council, which also makes provision for a National Research and Innovation Fund, because many countries, most countries really, that are funding science and technology and innovation appropriately, they don't do that through budgetary allocations. They use extra budgetary methods. So the National Research and Innovation Fund is an extra budgetary fund that can help to fund research and innovation, not just in the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, no, but throughout the country, in our universities, in our research institutes, other research institutes, even including private sector research establishments. So definitely the National Research and Innovation Bill, when signed and implemented with the fund, will be very helpful in helping us to quicken the pace of research and innovation in our dear nation.
Senator Sani Musa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues. Congratulations for your nomination. You were once Minister of Science and Technology in Nigeria, and I'm sure you have traveled vast. I have seen how China have used technology to advance their economy. If you go to China today, you've seen they zone their districts into clusters. And then you see what technology is like. Here in Nigeria, I know that there are a lot of impediments to our nation quest for technological advancements. We have issues of security within technology, like the patents, like the information security, whereby somebody will innovate something and before you know it, it's being used in America or elsewhere, but it's a Nigerian that devised that technology out. In Nigeria, we lack infrastructural database of our technological innovations. We have not seen it. We lack adequate research studies for people to take advantage, for companies to take advantage of it. If we have a database that will provide those informations, we will be able to meet up somewhere. Now, if given another opportunity to be a minister in charge of science and technology, how and what do you think you will do new, differently from what you are doing, so that we'll be able to move at least more steps forward than where we are today? Thank you.
Senator Ibrahim Shekaro.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, we're all aware that the national policy on education has made very strong provisions to emphasize the need for the teaching of science and technology in our various institutions at various levels. I recall while the nominee was serving as a Minister of Science and Technology, you were recorded to have said at a certain function that until and unless we begin to teach science and technology in our local languages, we may not be up to that position of competing with other nations. I want to ask, what have you done to really initiate that vision as we propose at that event of teaching science and technology in our local languages? And to what extent have you collaborated with the Ministry of Education to ensure that this vision we expressed at that event is realized and is put into practice? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Ibrahim Olorogbe.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair. Mr. Nominee, I join my colleague for being re-nominated to serve Nigeria as minister. Having gone through your CV, first, being first-class material and chemical engineering. However, with due respect, Mr. Nominee, I want my question maybe a further probing into one of the answers you gave. I'm worried that in this country we have a lot of institutions, universities, the research institutions, some of which are in your ministry, some are in other ministries. And we have a lot of talents in human resources that conduct research. I was privileged, specifically in the health sector, to be in some functions in London, where the National Institute of Pharmaceutical Research, the current DG there, was rolling out some of the things they are doing in terms of developing drugs and developing certain technology related to health. But from your reply, in the last 4 years that you have been minister, I'm not able to pick specifically the cutting-edge technology, particularly in the areas of IT, which we have a lot of Nigerians with that will be able to transform the research that are done or conducted by either universities or research institutions into final product. From what you said, you mentioned some few things which are what I would call basic technology. Technology has risen in the world beyond making biscuits. These are basic. What will you do differently? That's my question. That will make us to be able to be at the level of where technology is in the world. Thank you, Mr. President.
You can respond to the questions.
Thank you so much, Senator Musa talked about database. Yes, I mentioned to you that we started something, we championed something, because the economic recovery and growth plan of our country, as a matter of fact, that plan, which is still on now, is the first development plan that has recognized science, technology, and innovation as being at the center of all economic activities in the country. So we had tremendous responsibility, and we're able to champion and working with our colleagues at the Federal Executive Council under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari. We're able to bring into existence a revolutionary executive order number 5. By that executive order, once fully implemented, Nigeria will have a knowledge economy that is innovation driven, and in the next 30 to 50 years, nobody will imagine the level of development in our country. We'll just be like China is today in terms of advancement. And those who traveled to China 30 years ago know the implications of what I am saying. Definitely it will take a lot of time. Now, one of the agencies, I mentioned that particular agency, NOTA, has the responsibility to develop a database, data bank for the nation. And the agency, NOTA, has already started preliminary work. And I believe that by the time that database... By the time that database is fully developed, it will be of great benefit to our country. His Excellency, most distinguished Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, talks about using of local indigenous languages in teaching science and technology. Yes, I drew the attention of the nation that all the countries that have done very well, because our intention is that in the future, we should be able to produce Nobel laureates in physics, in chemistry, in medicine. We already have one in literature, but we want to have Nobel laureates, Nigerians who are Nobel laureates in physics, in chemistry, and in medicine. And to do that, there are so many things that must be done. But my happiness is that we have started. And one of that is that we should endeavor to use local languages in teaching our children at the primary school level, secondary school level, science and technology, that is science and tech-related subjects, and mathematics. Because if you look at all the countries that have done so well, they use their indigenous language early enough to teach children. And when people ask me why am I saying so? And I say, look, there's a very simple explanation. When a child is young, because most children, they go to school when they are about 5 or 6, though you have pre-schools now that people can go when they are 3. But at that tender age, if a child has to struggle with 2 things at a time, it will be easier for that child to make more progress if the child was struggling with just 1. So the first thing is that the language in the house, in the home, that the mother speaks to these children is their indigenous language. So when the child goes to school, the child has to start learning the foreign language, which you use to teach these science subjects, and then mathematics. So, but if we are able to use our indigenous local languages, we will definitely do much better. I know it's not a very simple problem to solve, but it's something that must be done, and I believe that it will be. So, by the time I made that comment, I had already contacted the Honorable Minister of Education. And then the 2 ministries, Education, Science and Technology, set up a joint committee. And that committee had been meeting, and I believe that once they are able to complete their work, because this is something that is a problem that is multidimensional. Then the nation will we will introduce this at the highest level, and I believe very strongly that it will be adopted. Also, developing drugs. Maybe I can use this opportunity to say one or two things to Nigerians. We have made tremendous progress, though it is not proper to make this announcement that I'm trying to make now. But I think to answer this question and to show you that we achieved so much, which time can't permit me to tell you. Our Nigerian Natural Medicine Development Agency already has developed a drug using our own local herbs that
Mr. President, we have 3 more minutes, please.
Yes, that have been used to test women who have breast cancer. But, this will take some time before the certification is completed. Also, one of our agencies, SHESCO, has already developed the capacity. They have gone very far in the cure for one of the very deadly diseases, epilepsy, for example. So we are working very hard, and we're getting good results. But with drugs, you don't make these announcements when they are early. You have to wait until they pass through. It's normally a very long journey. The pharmacists here will understand this. It's normally a very long process to pass through all the certifications before really you can say so. But we have done very well in these areas. In the area of information technology, we are working, and I want to also inform you that we had proposals before the Federal Executive Council. It's just that it could not be taken before we left, and whomsoever takes over will follow through on the establishment of 2 new agencies. And then we passed this through our National Research and Innovation Council. So the National Research and Innovation Council had already given approval. So it's now it will be before the Federal Executive Council and then Mr. President to give final approval, so that we can have 2 agencies that will help us to intensify study in artificial intelligence and also in robotics. Because we believe that once we are able to do well in these areas, the effect will be very, very beneficial in all areas of our research and innovation. Thank you.
Well, we have the Deputy Minority Leader, Senator Ross Oko, Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari, Senator Adama Lero. In that order. Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, Mr. President sitting in as chair. Distinguished colleagues, Chief Dr. Ogbonnaya Ono, you caught the image of an individual with a deep-seated sense of humility. And I'm not saying this to massage your ego, because I don't have the trait in my character, by the way. And you come from the southeast. You come from the southeast, a region that we think by power equation deserves some sympathy. And you fall into the few that genuinely could be seen as potential leaders in the future. I want to ask you, are you concerned about the huge security challenge in the country now? And if you are concerned, Can you tell this Senate whether you've been able, as an advisor and as a member of the Federal Executive Council for the past 4 years, whether you've been able to advise Mr. President? Because we are a nation that is filled with sycophants. A lot of people, when they see power, it's difficult to speak to power. Have you been able to advise that this insecurity is threatening our corporate existence? I'm saying this because another question may come. Suppose you are president, what differently will you do to confront this insecurity? Thank you.
Senator Arasoko, ask your question, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues. From time to time, Mr. Nominee, we have seen on national television young inventors displaying their inventions. What have you done with these young inventors? Do you have a policy that nurtures them to grow into these inventions and other inventions? Had you done so in the past? And if you hadn't done so, what would be your policy if you were to go back to that ministry to nurture these young inventors, some of whom have done very well in the inventions that we saw on television? Have we gone beyond exhibiting those inventions? Or have we done anything to nurture them? Is that a national policy? And if there is none, is there anything that can be done to evolve a national policy? Because that is the only way we can continue to grow strong in technology and science. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, distinguished colleagues. My good friend and brother, former governor of Abia State, I have a simple question for you. And it is related to application of science to agriculture. In particular, I want to talk about biotech engineering. It is a well-known fact that most countries develop their agriculture, apply science and technology, boost agricultural production. In this country, there is a lot of fears and apprehensions about biotech engineering. How do you allay the fears and apprehensions of Nigerians in embarking on biotechnology to boost agricultural production in Nigeria? Countries that have developed their agriculture, like India, China, and Brazil, have gone through biotech engineering. Why can't Nigeria do the same? As an eminent scientist from one of the best universities in the world, Berkeley University, a PhD holder, what can you advise the federal government of Nigeria to apply science and technology to boost agricultural production? Thank you.
Senator Abdel Fattah Bahari.
Thank you, Mr. President. Buhari Abdel Fattah Oyonot. Mr. Nominee, when you were making your contribution or your response earlier, you made mention of South Korea, how they developed their country with science and tech. South Korea achieved that by giving 10% of all their students every year a startup. In the last 4 years or 3 years or so, how many startups do you have in science and tech in your ministry? 2, I saw you on TV sometime early last year when a guy developed an aeroplane in Delta State. You showcase it. What has happened to that? I was even expecting the manager of the Senate, whenever he's coming to Abuja, you just enter that aircraft to Abuja. But up till now, We have not seen what you'll be able to do without young, talented guys. So that's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
You can respond to the questions, please.
Okay. Thank you so much, the most distinguished Deputy Minority Leader. Yes, there is no country that does not have security problems. The most important thing is once the leadership of a nation has the will to ensure that the security problems are handled in a way to ensure that we secure our citizens and their property, which is really the most important responsibility for any government anywhere in the world. And our President, President Muhammadu Buhari, has worked very hard and is working very hard and has given greater commitment. Even the speech that he made on June 12th is further assured Nigerians that all these security challenges, he will continue to address them. And the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology is also working to assist in finding solutions to some of the security problems that we have in the country. With respect to young inventors, this is a part of our achievement, but you know, with this limited time, we can't say so much. But we have a program which we have been carrying out every year, and that program is we go to all the 774 local government areas in the country, and we are walking through the chairman of the local government area. They will conduct examinations in physics, chemistry, biology, and mathematics. And they bring up somebody they consider to be the brightest, the person who has the greatest potential to be a young scientist. Now, at the state level, working with our governors and the ministries of science and technology, where we have one, in some cases, if we don't have, you know, and one ministry will play that role for us, all the persons who have come first in the various local government areas, if we take a state with, let's say, maybe 17 local government areas, the 17 of them will now come to the state capital and then compete again in this subject. And the best will now be taken. Now, we will invite the best from the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. So there will be 37 of them that will come to Abuja and compete. So we've been doing this, and this is to help us to encourage, you know, young people to go into science. And we did this for the past 3.5 years that I served as minister. And Mr. President was so kind in the past 2 years to grant scholarship to the first three, first, second, third. We normally give them cash and then some other prizes, but the President was so kind to now give them scholarship that they will, if they want to study up to PhD, that is Doctor of Philosophy level, in any Nigerian university, provided it's in any field of science and technology. This has been done for the past 2 years. So, and we have also, through our Science, Technology and Innovation Expo, which I believe the most distinguished Senator, Professor Borofis, who is the Deputy Majority Leader of this great Senate, who served as the chairman of the Committee on Science and Technology, will tell you, we did the first two in Abuja here at the Eagle Square. And then for this year, the third one, we said, okay, we're going to be moving around the country. So we picked the southeast for a start, and we did that at the Michael Opera Square in Enugu. And then each of these used to be a one-week program, and Nigerians were very excited about them. I believe some of you may have seen, I know you are so busy, but you may have seen some of this in the news, or even gone there, because there we try to have all the inventors, innovators, investors. There should be interaction. The purpose really is to promote commercialization. But the first thing is that people must know what you have done. If people don't know what is available, how can they promote it? How can they commercialize it? So we've done this, and it's been very useful, exceptionally useful. And maybe I can just go quickly to the last question on the aircraft in Delta. That aircraft, as a matter of fact, I was told by someone, I didn't even see it, that it was Channel Television that relayed a young scientist who had a drone. So I now asked my office to go and make contact with Channel Television and locate that person. So we were able to locate the person, and we invited him, to Abuja. And the man was so happy, he said so. It wasn't even that he contacted, it's just the interest, the passion that we have, for development of science and technology in our dear country, because we know that there is no other way we can become truly great without applying science and technology and innovation to our nation building. And we encouraged that inventor the way we have also encouraged, because there's another program whereby we set up a committee that goes around, and this is on an annual basis, goes around all our states in the various geopolitical zones, and finds out the major inventions that we have in the country. And they write report on this, and the best are selected for us, to encourage. And we normally give them cash grants where that is, necessary. Now, with South Korea, yes, startups, in the Ministry of Science and Technology, yes, we have this program, and that is what I just mentioned now. When there are two angles to it. First is that many people don't recognize that many of the agencies, indeed, as a matter of fact, almost all the agencies under the Federal Ministry of Science, under the supervision of the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, they encourage the growth of micro and small scale industries. And what happens is that when you now have a new technology, this technology, the intellectual property will be protected through a patent, and then we will now come and train people, and we encourage them. That's the startup. We have classical examples of success stories in this. I was in Enugu just, I believe, in May this year, where a very big facility, as a result of this type of startup, that started small, but has now grown to, almost between medium and a large-scale industry. And there are classical examples of that all over the country. So we are making progress. The only thing is that it takes time for this progress, for many people to embrace them. Now, the last question by His Excellency, most distinguished Senator Aliero. Yes, most people will tell you that 90 to 95% of agriculture is science and technology. Many people think it's only maybe harvesting, maybe planting by using tractors and so on. No, that is not. Every process, even in selecting the seed, yes, it's science and technology, and many of our agencies have been assisting in ensuring that we have food security in the country, because it is very important as a nation that we must be able to feed ourselves. There is no other way we can make it if we are unable to feed ourselves as a nation. And we are making contributions in this direction. Not only, I can give you a classical example. We found out that that our nation, one reason that the industrialization process in the country has not done as well as it should be is that we did not do what many other countries did. Because many other countries started with, with leather and then textile. Because these are low technology areas that if you have large population and you have the workforce, is not that expensive, you can do very well in them. So we now decided to solve those problems, and we picked leather and also looked at cotton. That our farmers ran away from planting cotton because there is a particular insect that attacks the cotton. So one of our agencies, working with others, NABDA, National...
Honorable nominee, I think you need to round up.
Okay,
yes.
Sorry. No, I thought they need to have this information. But thank you so much. So NABDA developed this cotton, B2 cotton, that now has increased considerably the yield of our farmers and all that, and we believe that this will help farmers to go into agriculture. And many of our agencies are working in the area of processing. So I thank you so much, Mr. President of the Senate.
Well, distinguished colleagues, I want to really plead with us. Everyone would like to ask a question, but we still have many more nominees to go. So those who have been able to ask questions now or before, I think it will be the privilege of those who have not asked any questions when the next set of ministerial nominees come in. So is it the view of this Senate that the nominee takes a bow and go? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You can take a bow.
Nominee number 6, Dr. Ogbonnaya takes a bow and leaves after about 45 minutes of being grilled by senators. He answered questions around using technology to fight insecurity and how he would advise, or he has advised, President Buhari. He also answered questions on plans for young inventors, and also on using technology for agriculture. He answered quite a lot of questions, talked about the need to teach science and technology in local languages, especially for primary school level. And questions suggest also, just like the former minister who was last to take the podium, Rotimi Amechi. So this question suggested that